Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. I just want to hop on quickly because people have asked me a question that I feel like deserves a video. So the question is, what kind of offerings, what personal development should I do to get results? Like I want a more fulfilling relationship. I want a relationship. I want to feel more pleasure in sexual intimacy. I want to voice my needs. I really suck at boundaries. I feel like I can't express myself authentically. I just shut down. I exert myself and then I collapse. I want to be better. Like I know there's like a better version of myself inside and I want to like express that. And what will give me like the most bang in getting there? And several people have asked me because I have several offerings and it's not really about my offerings even. It's like I do workshops and events and I serve certain medicine and I do one-on-one work with clients in more long-term containers and like on a personal level I do a lot of like my own work. Like I have our meditation practice every day and I sign up for quite a lot of like retreats. I usually go for like intensives, at least once or twice a year. And I'm in my own therapy and I'm in group therapy and I try to eat right, vegan and all. And if I can I'm a old, I used to be a yoga teacher, so yoga, reading resources. I always have a book list. Vision boarding, dancing, I love dancing alone in my room or going to ecstatic dance. So there's like all of these practices and I'm sure you have your own practices and or you gravitate towards certain practices and it's like, well, where's the result? Like I want my results. I want to feel free and I want to feel love and I want to manifest these energies on this physical plane. And so like when people ask me this question, it's like what has worked for me and what I would recommend to anybody. It's like people probably don't like this answer because it's not the easy answer. It's not like, take this medicine and you'll be cured or this block will release or you'll be able to surrender or whatever, It's actually much more complex than that. Real change happens when we do something again and again and again and again and again, So it's like long-term practice is where we see the real change and showing up for yourself regularly, like really like weekly, in a coaching or a therapy container, or whatever that you're doing it regularly. That is like where the results are. And the reason for that is actually quite neurological. We are wired in our brain to do things a certain way since we were tiny, before we were 5, because all of these superhighways, they're really locked and loaded in our brain before the age of 5, 6, So we're set in our relating patterns. We're set in what makes us feel small, how we hear things, our trigger points, like these things are really like there, very young. And when we're trying to change them, we're starting out with like a tiny, tiny, tiny neural highway. We're like just building those neurological cells, It's like learning a different language. It's so hard to learn it at first and we get so tired because we're building actually systems in our brain. We're rewiring our patterns. And so showing up for yourself is the most important thing. Showing up in, for me personally, what's really shifted my life around, and I mean like really the way that I feel, the way that I react to people, the way that I don't react to people, the way that I can respond, the way that I can see myself responding and choose a different path, the way that I can be vulnerable in time of conflict and not shut down and be like defensive. The way that I can feel intimate with people in places of pleasure. I mean, all of these things really pivoted in my life when I signed myself up for long-term therapy. And by long-term, I mean like years, but a lot can be done in just a few months. You can ask my clients. But it's really a commitment to showing up for yourself week after week that's where the magic happens. And that's the hardest thing, because when we show up for ourselves week after week on a regular basis, and we make a commitment, and we come on time, and we face this stuff, it's not easy. Like, I tell my clients, like, my job isn't to make you feel good. Like, I am not doing my job, or I wouldn't be doing my job if my sessions with my clients were designed to make them feel happy and good. I would be like a best friend. I would listen, and I would say, oh no, he's just busy. Like, that would make you kind of feel or she's just busy. But my job is really about feeling. So it's not easy to feel, but when you end up feeling, more alive, and you end up feeling all the pain points, but also all the places where the expansion takes place. And we can make different choices when we're actually feeling and when we're actually conscious. And that's really, really, really hard to do, because we are programmed, we've programmed ourselves relatively young to not feel these places which are really painful. And so we end up doing the same patterns, the same stories, attracting the same unfulfilling relationships, until we actually face our stuff. And facing our stuff requires, like, medicine work is really good. That's why I do it. I have a monthly medicine practice where I go and I sit, on a monthly basis as much as I can, in a really deep way. I just went to Peru for 5 weeks, and I did some really intense work with medicine, in dieta and then other non-dieta contexts. Really, really hard stuff. But that is not the stuff that brings, that's the stuff that can, like, give you the rocket fuel to change. And it's helped me tremendously. That's why I still do it, tremendously. Tantric intensives have helped me tremendously to open up my sense of voice and empowerment. Eating right, yoga, embodiment, dancing, vision boarding, they all help so much, but they help break the ice. A shamanic teacher once explained it in a way that I love explaining it to people. So our kind of consciousness is like a globe. Yeah, it's like a globe of consciousness. We're a ball of consciousness. And in the middle of it, it's like cut in half by a sheet of ice. And below the ice is our subconsciousness. And above the ice is our consciousness. And we can't break the ice. It's really hard to get into that subconsciousness and really figure out what it is, how it maneuvers, how it runs our life in this unfulfilling patterns. And when we have these immersives, like deep medicine work, or workshops, or retreats, kind of these intentional, immersive, deep experiences, we break the ice. We put a hole in the ice. And so that's why we feel so like, wow, oh my God, this feels so alive, after, a medicine journey. That's why, I serve it as well, and I use it. Or, deep like intensives, or even like really intentional festivals, weekend workshops. They feel like you cracked the ice and you can feel more of yourself, that whole other part of you that you didn't have access to. And that's wonderful, and we need those immersives so much. But if we don't show up for ourselves week after week in an accountable way, the ice starts freezing over again. And so that's why, weeks, months, a year after this really deep experience that you've had, it kind of starts going back to the same old. Yeah? And the way to change the same old is an accountable showing up for yourself. And I really recommend therapy, a coaching container, being with somebody else who can support and guide you on your journey, because it's so hard and scary and disincentivizing to do it by yourself, because the way that we feel these feelings, we do not want to feel them. They feel like death from a really early childhood. That is why like emotional release tools that I teach, sometimes they're really, really hard to do alone, because all these feelings come up and we can't process them, and so we shut them down. So that's just kind of it. It's supposed to be hard, but show up for yourself. If you want to know how I do it, how I work with people to break through some of these patterns in a systematic way that sticks, that yields lasting results, I'll put a link in the comments. I'm happy to do clarity calls to understand what your pain points are, what your stories are, and what would be the path to break through them and get the results that you want in relationship and intimacy, in self-expression with me and how I do it. So all my love to you, and no matter what, show up for yourself. It's priceless. Your happiness, your sense of authenticity, your love and freedom, your means to create, maintain, and grow and nurture lasting, fulfilling, intimate relationships has no price tag on it. It's like your life. It has no price tag on it. So fill it with value, because death may tap us at any moment, and that is what enriches our life, actually. That's another post. Yeah, I don't want to go there. But all my love, and have a really nice weekend.